y'all. Welcome to Unleash with DNA. I'm Amy.
And I'm Dawn, and we're so glad you're here.
Hey, Dawn.
Hey, Amy.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's hot.
It is hot, and it's been a minute since we've had a chance to continue on with our episodes. And as a reminder to those following us along, we are halfway through our live series, and we've already recorded episodes 5 and 6, and 5 is L for Live to Give, which we've already received lots of great feedback on that one. And the I that was last released is Invest in Your Present and Future. And today we are going to pick up on the live series with F, which is Fear of Failure. So I'm going to turn it over to you and let you get started.
All right. Well, this is a big one. I think this one is probably pretty universal because I think everyone's had a fear of failure. It's probably one of the greatest fears out there. Is failing, and none of us ever really want to do it. And so I was thinking about, like, as we were going to talk today and we had some time with everyone, I was thinking about what we might want to talk about. And I know that you and I have heard some speakers, and I recently read a book with my leadership team this past year by Carla Harris, and it's called Lead to Win. And she has a whole chapter based on kind of making mistakes. And she talks about there's 4 fears out there. And number 1, fear of failure or making a mistake. Number 2, fear of what others will say, kind of like leaving your legacy behind and what other people might think. And then fear of success, which that's confusing, but it's obviously a fear. And then fear of limited chances. So I think we could probably start with something like that. One of the things that Carla says that I love, and I hope we can kind of unpack this a little bit today, is value the try. Really value the try.
I remember hearing her speak, and she by far will go down as one of my favorite speakers that I've ever. She's just so, number one, authentic and real, and it just didn't. I'm sure she's rehearsed that a million times, but it didn't feel that way. I did take a lot of notes on my phone, and I do have a plan to actually read the entire book. But I do remember her speaking about that part in fear. And I really, in my phone, when I looked back on my notes, I put it under what she called innovation.
Mm-hmm.
She actually has failure as a part of, in her mind, innovation, meaning like you learn from every failure. So why not do more, kind of thing. And then also I wrote the note, value the try. So I look forward to using her wisdom to help guide our conversation, because I think all 4 of those mind thoughts are very powerful, and fear is such a big topic. And I don't know that you and I could even do it justice in an episode, but let's try. Let's start off with people are, they feel failure because they fear of making a mistake, right? Like they don't want to make a mistake, so they just don't want to try. And I personally have done that before in my life, where I'm like, well, if I try that and it doesn't work out, then, am I going to be judged, or what are people going to think if I make a mistake with this? And particularly when you're younger, it's harder to move forward with that, and to move forward with the try, because you're too afraid of what will happen if you make a mistake, right?
Oh, yeah. When you think about it, and I think even older, it's just different. It's probably less like maybe in your career if you've been doing that, but parents, you're afraid to make a mistake with your children. At work, you're afraid of mistakes to make your job. And this was one, when I unpacked this with my team at work, this was one that really hit with them, is because when you think of the fear of failure or making mistakes, you automatically immediately put yourself in the person that's making the mistake or doing something. But what I realized in that conversation, that as leaders or friends or parents, we also play a role in when people are making mistakes around us. and giving people permission to make mistakes around us, whatever we're blessed to have in our life. Like, it's really important. So as we unpack this, I think we can approach it from two perspectives. One, about how you personally feel about making a mistake and taking risks, because if there was no fear of failure, I read, there would be no joy of success. And so when you think about that, we play a role both sides. We play a role in watching someone else make a mistake and how we respond and encourage them. But then we also have to learn how to process our own mistakes and be brave in making them.
I love that. I mean, it's almost like, and I think that that's really what Carla means, is value the try. So we always, when we go back and reflect and we look for those opportunities to learn our lessons, or gosh, we tried that, we failed, or we tried, didn't do as good as we thought, but we had some good nuggets to take away or some lessons learned. If we all put ourselves in the mindset, which the mind is such a powerful thing, and I know we've shared that on other episodes, that number one, pat yourself on the back and give yourself a round of applause that you did it, right? And then also give yourself a round of applause that you were brave enough to do it, and that celebrate the joy in trying, learning, taking away what you can from that, and then get out there and try it again. Instead of like beating yourself up that, oh my gosh, I tried that, I will never do that again. And sometimes you may have to make that call depending on what it is. But I think that's good advice, is when you are the person not making the mistake, you're an observer or a third party to it, or someone is trusting in sharing that they made a mistake. The more you can be open and encouraging the good parts about it, and the things that they could take away, the more likely that person will bounce back and be willing to go try it again. I think that's awesome.
And I think that when we get to a certain age, we might be less fearing those failures, but now we're surrounded by people that are maybe at a different place in their life, and they are fearing the failures. And it really is up to us to make sure that they're okay with it. They understand that we value the try, the company, everyone values the try. I mean, even thinking about it from a parent standpoint, you get out of the corporate environment and you go into like just a normal family environment. As parents, our if you're lucky enough to be a parent or a coach or a teacher or anywhere, there's going to be mistakes all around you, and we are charged with how we're going to respond to those mistakes, because then that either sets those people up for getting back on the horse and trying again, and maybe just kind of taking some key takeaways that maybe next time they get back on, they do it a little bit better and they tweak it a little bit. But never should you not do it again, not just giving it up and just going back out there. And I think sometimes that is really more of what people need, is encouragement to try again.
I agree with you.
I know we got to do it ourselves, but I don't know. We're human. We kind of need other people to help us get back out there.
We need fans. And I think that leads right into the next point of her fear of failure. And a lot of people fear making a mistake or feel failure because of what other people will think about them if they do. And I could go on and on and on and on about how many ways, outside of just fearing failure, just always overthinking or overvaluing what other people think, and how that can just paralyze you in your in life, in it, whether it be your personal life, your work life, or whatever, like being paralyzed for doing things, going for it, being the person you really want to be, making this decision in your, whether it's to buy something, pursue something, start a business, start a podcast, because you're too worried about what other people are going to think. And I mean, I don't know if we have enough time in this decade to talk about all that, but I love how Carla Harris identifies that is a root of fear, is that people just don't do it because they're scared of what others would think. And that's really sad when you think about it.
Well, it's sad because Some of it is our mindset, but some of it is also probably some PTSD from either our childhood or from other experiences when we did make a mistake. The consequences were not there were consequences. The verbiage, the conversation didn't go well. And so what happens is if that happens, even if it happens young, like I'm afraid to tell my mom that I got a D on, I don't even know if they have D's anymore. I'm showing my age. I don't even know. Like, if whatever that you're afraid because you're afraid of that, the consequence, you're going to get in trouble. And it's not really always been something that when you think about, everyone's not had a great experience with making mistakes and getting encouragement from that. I don't know how many times that when my kids were playing sports, the kids were, the game is tied. And then there's this one, I still have empathy for the field goal kicker that misses the field goal in a tie game and they got to go home and they're in tears. And you wonder, are they getting encouragement? Are they getting, did you try your best? Did you do whatever? How are you going to change that to where that doesn't happen to you again? Or if they are afraid of what everyone is going to say to them. And now that we have social media, if you do anything publicly, they can just blast you out into public.
Yeah, totally. It's such
Wah,
bullshit.
wah, wah.
I hate that. And I've been the mom in the stands before, with my child having a main role in something. It's so easy to go there. I like that mind just drifts off into where you're not even enjoying the scene or that, like watching because you're too worried about, oh, I hope that dad doesn't think my child just did some awful move or if they make a mistake that they are being judged. I mean, I don't, it makes my stomach hurt to think about it because I can remember it so vividly. But even more importantly, what I think the takeaway for this podcast, because we're never going to stop that behavior because it's real and it's out there every day. And we're going to hear from people that say, oh my gosh, that's so right. I think the best takeaway or the best advice that we can leverage our time and make it worthwhile is don't be that person. Don't be that person that's quick to shut it down, to knock it down, to like be that person, to be that critical voice instead of, you know what? You did your best. I'm sure you did your best. I'm sure you went out there and did your best at whatever it was. Proud of you for trying. Let me know if I can help you rediscover or replan or re-strategize for next time. I'm just proud of you for doing it. And
Yep.
if more people just show up like that, even if you're responding on social media, you gave it your best, kid, get out there and do it again. Or
I don't know if you follow like sports or whatever, but like somebody, I know they're getting paid a lot of money, but somebody does something wrong in a game and the tweets behind it are just horrible.
Take
And like,
them
this
out,
is a
get
professional,
shut them down.
this is a professional athlete. Can you do it better? I'm with you. If, as we move on to the next one and as we kind of there at fear of what others will say are there, because as a society, I don't know if we're all responding to failure or mistakes the way that we should be. And we can do better. And we could all work on having the mindset that we value the try.
Yep. No matter what. And guess what?
No matter what.
Their try may be something that you are honestly would be something you would never do or you're against personally, but you're not them and they're not you. And everybody has their reasoning for why they want to go for something or why they put themselves in the position to put themselves out there. And everybody deserves their opportunity to live their life the way they want to make the mistakes that we're supposed to make. I think there's a quote out there that says, we're born to make mistakes, not fake perfection.
Absolutely.
We're all born to make mistakes. And if I have to use my term again, that I've used in several other, at the risk of overusing it, if there were not mistakes in life, it would be a snooze fest. It would just be so picture perfect that there would be never anything to strive for. It almost feels like it would be boring, even though thinking about making mistakes sounds scary. That's the only way that you could like authentically live your life and try. And so my commitment to anyone out there from now going forward is that I will be less judgmental and more of the fan in the back going, you gave it your best. Whether or not I would have done that or not doesn't matter. Proud of you for trying. Let me know how I can help you.
Yep. I would, only thing I would add to that is I would make sure everybody understands if you're not making mistakes, you're not living, period. You're not. And you can take that however you want, but we are human and we are going to make mistakes. Even if we do it, even if you're doing things right, 90% of the time, you're going to make mistakes. That's just part of the deal. It's kind of like you said, we're not perfect.
Yep.
And so we are not living. So I would encourage you to realize that if you're not making mistakes, you're not living. And that's real. Just think about it.
And fear not what other people think, or try to fear less that people are going to who cares? Like the more we can
Well,
release
and
what was that? There's some, I wish there was it might've been a quote or something I read on Instagram is like, we overvalue, like we think people are constantly thinking about what we're doing. And the reality is they're too busy thinking about themselves that they haven't even paid 1 ounce of attention to what. Honestly, that's half the battle. It's just realizing you think all these people care about you and what you're doing, and they don't, because they're thinking about themselves. And that's just reality. So,
and honestly, even if they do have an emotion, like an immediate reaction, don't hang on to it, because guess what? That's just their opinion. And guess what? They've given it and they've moved on. Like, to your point, they've moved on with their life and they aren't thinking 2 minutes more about you. And you're hanging on to that comment forever.
yeah.
And it could be holding you back from trying and trying again, because that person, if you had had more time to talk to them, probably could have unpacked that more with you. But sometimes we just get these initial little comments and they just feel like a gun shot right to the heart, and you carry it with you. You need to realize they've moved on. They're not
Yep.
even thinking about you anymore. And you're going to have to pick yourself back up.
Yep. Don, what do you think? Like the next thing on of the 4 of Carla Harris is the fear of success. Like, articulate to me how you understand that.
That one's a little confusing, because even Carla started off, and honestly, I can't even say that I fully get it yet, but fearing that you're like, it almost, you can kind of get frozen. Maybe that the success you have, like you've done a good job on something. And so maybe someone's asked you to do a presentation, or they've asked you to lead a group, and they've asked you. So you wind up not putting yourself out there for fear that you may be asked to do something, a bigger role. And you're not afraid of the contributions that you're giving that are valued, and you feel like you're in your strength zone, but now you've asked to take that and present it to a group, maybe. And public speaking may not be your thing. So you don't want to do anything that's going to put you in a situation that you're going to have to do something greater. So you're almost fearing that if you do a great job, that you might get success and you may be asked to do more. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It's almost like make sure that you're good enough, but not so good that someone's going to ask you to be bigger than you're comfortable with, and then you're going to be fearing that you can never live up to that next level of expectation.
Yes.
I personally don't struggle with that.
No, you don't. Like, you don't.
I'm like, you want me to do that? Okay, let's roll
But
it
but
up.
you know,
Yeah, no, I get it.
I
Yeah,
but and you've known me for a while. You could see that I could kind of struggle with that a little bit. Like,
yeah.
I want to be contributing, but then if they're like, "Hey, Don, can you do this?" I'm like, I didn't sign up for that. Does that
Do,
make sense?
yeah.
I didn't sign up for that.
And is there any part, because I haven't read the book and I want to, but is there any part in there where it also could mean that you're fearing success because, again, that others might think like how you're judged for that success, or not? Is it just strictly that that as you continue to gain success, you fear what that
Oh,
next level
oh
could bring.
yeah. That got touched on as far as, you kind of grow up with people, right? And then you could start kind of having to remove yourself from the pack. And then if you're now in a different peer group and now you're in a different role and you no longer fit in that same place that you once were comfortable, and now you have to, so leaders have to learn how to get uncomfortable in success. There
Yeah.
is that part
Yeah.
of, and then you go back to fear of making a mistake, even with success. And then also, what is everyone going to say? And what are people going to do? And were you deserving of it? What is all the dialogue around? Why did such and such get this role? Or why do they get to go do this? Or why did they get to be the captain on the team? Why did they get to be the manager? Why are they getting a chance to do this? And we've seen that through all our life, is it's someone's gotten success and then they get judged for their success.
That's a shame, but I get it. And I guess I never considered that the fear that people would think about it like that you really have you stop and think, okay, if I go for this and I get it, then I'm going to be judged, or that I could be. And that makes me scared to even try. That's sad. I don't like it, but I get it. I do get it. It's real.
It's
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
And that's again where, if you have someone that you're close to or someone that's willing to disclose that for you, you have to kind of really, fear needs a lot of encouragement, is what I get out of it, is that it's natural to have fear. It's natural. But again, you and I talked about it in a previous episode, is being vulnerable and transparent with what you're feeling is the most important, in a safe space that you find people that you can talk to, and the right people to talk to, so they can kind of encourage you through that. It's not going to erase your fear, but it will boost your confidence to push through it. And it reminds me of a quote that Nelson Mandela says. He says, I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it.
Mm-hmm. So do you think, I
So,
mean, I know we're born with instincts in our, you know, that moment, like where you almost, like you're driving down a thing and you almost, like something in your body like lights up to stop you from something. So there's something in our bodies that's there, that's like making sure that your lights are on. Hey, it's like this tingling, and you know what it is. And I don't know if that's fear or just your natural governor that keeps you
okay.
safe. I don't know. What is it?
So there's an acronym that I learned years ago that is for fear. And I think it's exactly what you're talking about. Fear stands for false expectations appearing real.
False
So,
expectations appearing real
right.
is fear.
So we know our perceptions are our truth. So there's false expectations that we put in our head, and they appear very real to us, to where we feel that they're real. And I think that happens daily in our lives. Even if and when you say expectations, it could be false outcomes appearing real versus false expectations, but outcomes is an O, so it doesn't go with the acronyms.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? But they say expectations, false expectations appearing real, but you could also say false outcomes appearing real, like of what you think's going to happen. You don't know. I think you and I, uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole nother podcast. Fear
Well,
is,
I guess fear is natural. Like you're not going to never, it's natural to fear, right? We're kind of born to fear. You've got to have some fearfulness, that you're not just invincible. To have some kind of like way to keep yourself in check. But as long as you don't let it go to the dark side, right? And then let all these other little things cloud your mindset, which is fear of like overthinking it and thinking you're going to make a mistake, which really not a mistake. It's a learning opportunity. Overthinking it that people are going to judge you. Overthinking it that you're going to be too successful. There's no such thing. And so that it's almost like that fear turns into like false reality, double fear, like overdone, drama girl,
Yeah.
and then
I mean,
it's bad for you.
I said it earlier, like fear of failure is normal. I mean, no one can tell you to erase fear of failure from it. Cause I told you earlier, without fear of failure, there would never be any joy in success. And if you think about it, and it's real easy to do, like from an athletic standpoint, every time a team steps on to the court or the field to play a game, that fear of failure is what drives them to win.
True.
So it's healthy to some point.
Yeah. You need it.
Yeah,
It's motivating.
You got to have a little bit. It's your internal motivation. It's as we learn with strengths. It's when it goes to the dark side that it basically stops you from living your full potential in life, because you've taken your fear of failure to the dark side. And I don't know if you've ever done that, but I have.
Oh, I have. I've done all these, both sides. Like, I should have been a better person to support. I should have been a better person to support myself. I've not done things because I didn't want to fear to what other people. I've done them all. I'm getting better at it. It's just funny how the older you get, the less you give a shit. And I'm just going to say it like that.
That's
but
true.
I think this leads us into the last little bit that she says. Fearing failure limits our chances, and failure limits, fear of failing limits our future opportunities. So in other words, if you fear failure too much, you're going to cost yourself new opportunities. And I think that's such a powerful message. And whether that means, well, not everything needs to be a failure, but if you look at if I do this and I don't do well, it's going to give me an opportunity to learn and go try again, versus just doing nothing and then you didn't even get to have the experience at all. Like, you just robbed yourself of an opportunity because you're too scared that you may not be successful.
Yep. And I think a lot of times we fear limited chances with other people. Like, we made a mistake, it's over, it's done, I'm never going to get the next promotion, my kids are ruined forever, life is over, I made a mistake with my spouse, and like now my marriage is doomed forever. I'm wearing the scarlet letter, right? When I think of fear of limited chances, it's like, how many mistakes can you make in life? I say as many as you need, because if you're not making mistakes, you're not living. It's making the same mistakes over and over and over again that should cause you a greater fear, not if you're just making a mistake.
Right.
I mean, we're humans, we're going to make them, and there should be endless chances out there, and there should be endless opportunities. Even if you pivot, just because you don't stay one direction doesn't mean that you can't pivot and make another directions. Those are chances just as much. And I think sometimes we kind of just want to be, and this could be a whole nother podcast too, but fear of failure is because we kind of naturally want to control things.
Yeah. Yep. And honestly,
we can't control.
That's exhausting. It is. And nothing pisses me off more when I'm trying to control something and it doesn't work out. I cannot stand that. I'm like, why did it not go my way? But
it is exhausting.
There's a reason. Everything happens for a reason. And I know that's so cliche, but I believe it. And it may not reveal itself. That reason may not reveal itself at that moment where you're looking for clarity, like why, and it doesn't reveal itself, but over time it will. And then 99% of the time you look back and go, thank goodness that did not work out that way. Or thank goodness, I was forced to pivot there because I needed that, or, it happens. But
it's part of the plan.
Yeah. I think
it is part of the bigger plan.
This is such a meaty topic, and we said it would be from the get-go, but I think what I'm going to walk away with, and my commitment to you and all my friends and anyone that I engage with out there going forward, that I will be more of a fan of fear and help see opportunities to take next chances and encourage the next chances. I'm going to be less scared about what people think in my own life, and release my mind of that, because that does nobody any good. And just expect fear. Like, fear's a part of the normal, course of life, and it's natural to fear, and it's okay. Just don't give up on the try.
Never. If you could really flip your mind to think of fear in general, and fearing making a mistake or feeling failure is your drive for being successful, then I think then that conquers half of it, right? I mean, you and I are both parents. How much do you fear failure in screwing up our kids?
Mm-hmm.
It's there, but we're going to do it. It's going to happen, and they're going to learn from it. You're going to learn from it. But that's a mindset that I try to do. And I feel the same way as you. It's just, it's kind of like a mindset to wake up. And I think one of the things that I learned about talking through this, or even getting ready for it, is I have to be prepared and be very aware and intuitive of the people that I've been blessed with to have in my life, that they are probably fearing failure or fearing making mistakes or fearing what other people are thinking about them. And I have to be mindful enough to make sure that I am doing everything I can to encourage them so that they can have the best version of their life that they can possibly have.
I love it. I love it. Well, we're at 33 minutes. We have a commitment to try to keep them as short as possible. I've enjoyed the conversation.
Me too.
And
I love
last
it.
up on the life series is E, which is Experiences Matter. And I know we're both excited to talk about that. So we will be launching that next. But for now, have a great weekend. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss fear today, and talk soon.
Talk soon. You guys go make some mistakes.
Well, that's a wrap for this episode. Thanks for tuning in.
We know your time is so valuable. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel for easy access to all of our episodes.
Talk soon.